Hey guys, what's going on? My name is PBM. Today I'm going to be doing an AMA support guide for you guys. So my last update video, I released a straw poll and told you guys to vote for the next god guide. And it was really close between AMA and Sylvanas and Fafnir. But in the end, or at the time of creating this video, AMA was the winner. So we're going to go over AMA specifically in support. I'm not really going to talk about her in Soul Lane, which is the main role she's been played in the past. We're going to talk about just what makes her a good support, why she's being picked, and why she's good in the Season 4 meta. We'll go over item builds, we'll go over her passive, her all of her abilities, all the good stuff. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Alright, so let's start off with AMA's items. So her build is pretty normal compared to all the other supports. Obviously, she's a warrior, so instead of having access to items such as Void Shield or Void Stone, she has Void Shield, which is a little bit more expensive, so you don't really build her as a bruiser in most cases. You pretty much stick to the standard Watcher's Gift. You can go Bumbas if you want. You can go Vanguard, Chalice, all that normal stuff. Boots, you can get Reinforced or Travelers. I personally prefer to have the Reinforced boots on AMA. The reason for that is she's a very up close and personal god. Her 2 does hit you at a distance, but you won't really get the damage bonus from her 2 unless you are playing in melee range and stacking up her, or charging it up, I guess. So I like to get the Reinforced Greaves. You can also go Travelers if you want the little bit of movement speed. And then if you get really far ahead, maybe you can go for a Warrior Tabby to try to kill people. Since she is a warrior support, she does get played very aggressively. An item that helps her with that playstyle is Shield of Regrowth. This item will make it so that whenever you heal yourself from your 1, which we'll go over a little bit later, you gain a little bit of movement speed. The cooldown reduction is obviously always useful on pretty much any support god, as is the health. So Regrowth is a pretty good item for this god. And then just other standard items, your Spirit Robes, your Sovereignty Thieves, Heart Ward, stuff like that. Wingblade, of course. And then as for relics, you pretty much look at all the normal relics that other supports run. Meditation probably being the most favored one for level 1. You can also look towards stuff like Shell and Heavenly Wings. Horrific Emblem can also be good on AMA to give her a little bit more crowd control and give her some more, I guess, slows in her, or give her a slow in her kit, as well as reduce attack speed for enemy gods. So pretty underrated relic, but for the most part, you're just going to be looking towards Meditation and Magic Shell. As for AMA's abilities, we're going to start off by covering her passive and her 1. So Amaterasu's passive is Illuminating Strike. Every time she auto-attacks an enemy god or minion, it'll place a stacking debuff on them that emanates like an aura around the enemy that you hit, and it'll give them 10% increased damage taken to everybody within that radius. And to get this passive proc, you have to auto-attack the same enemy 3 times. And you can have 3 auras active at once, so if you auto-attack 3 different enemies 3 times, you can have 3 of these going. So the duration of this is 5 seconds, and this is what gives Amaterasu such a strong level 1 in terms of clear, in combination with her 1, which is Divine Presence. We're going to talk about these at the same time because most people refer to AMA's 1 as her passive because it's just a passive buff to any people around her. So these 2 aura abilities are what makes AMA have such a strong early game. The 1 Divine Presence will heal her every time you activate it from 15 to 55 health per tick, and your Benevolence aura or your movement speed aura will give you and any teammate around you 5 to 25% movement speed, and the Valor aura will give you 15 to 35 bonus power as an aura for your teammates. So you want to pick this ability up first at level 1, and the combination of these abilities, if you are in your Valor stance or your Power stance in combination with your Illuminating Strike passive, you can have a lot of damage on creeps early game, and you can poke people out a lot. As you can see here against E United earlier the split, Medusa and Ymir are one of the highest clearing duo lanes that you can get, and Oceans and I were able to come back in this lane and take pressure from them because AMA's early game is just so strong. AMA's next ability is her 2, Heavenly Reflection. This ability will activate a shield on top of you that will give you self-damage mitigation from 3 to 15% depending on the rank. And as you take damage or deal damage, you will charge up your mirror and deal additional damage with this ability. So with a full charged mirror, the damage will add 210 damage at max rank. This is going to be the ability that you pick up at level 2, as well as the ability that you're going to max first. The reason for this is Ama's main damaging ability. It also gives her some nice damage reduction if you choose to pop this when you're tanking a tower or tanking a bunch of damage. And overall, it's just her kind of trademark ability. It has very good clear in the early game as well, so at level 1 and 2, if you pick up your 1 first and then your Heavenly Reflection second, you can go to pretty much any buff camp, stack up your passive and your aura, stack up your passive and activate the aura on your 1 for power, and then stack up your Heavenly Reflection, and you can do a ton of damage and clear very quickly on Ama. This ability is also very good to turn fights if you're being engaged on. You can precast your 2 to get a little bit of damage reduction, and then reflect all of that damage back to the enemy team. Amaterasu's third ability is Glorious Charge. This is her dash. This will be the ability that you pick up as level 3, and it will also be the ability that you max very last out of all of your abilities. As you can see right there, it's a very quick dash. It's very good at getting you out of trouble because it's so quick, and it also is good as a gap closer. You can chase down enemies very easily with this in combination with your movement speed aura. Another thing to note about Glorious Charge is that it has a 1 second silence duration. It's very important to understand how to use this silence and the exact mechanic of how Glorious Charge works, and I'll show you that in jungle practice a little later on in the video. Ama's final ability is her ultimate Dazzling Offensive. This ability is a cone kind of 3-strike combo ultimate that Ama has. So she will channel her ultimate, and the first hit will deal 75 to 275 damage based on the rank of the ability. The next attack will deal 20% more damage if you hit the first one, and then it will also put a 2-second slow when all the targets hit. And then the third attack will, if you hit both the first and the second, the third attack will deal the base damage plus 40%, and it will stun them for 2 seconds. This ability is Ama's main CC. It is such a good ability because it also has a 75-second cooldown compared to most ultimates that are 90 seconds. It is also a CC immune ability, so it's very good at counter-engaging, like you'll see right here. I use it to immune Pain's Ymir Freeze, and then go ahead and turn the fight on him. So overall, this is Ama's main engage tool, and her main way of CCing the enemy team. Now that we've covered all of Ama's abilities, I'll talk a little bit about her laning phase. As I mentioned earlier when going over her passive and her 1, Ama has a very strong level 1, which is one of the reasons she's found her way into the support meta for Season 4. Her level 1 combination of her passive as well as her aura makes it so that you can clear very quickly with your hunter. So again, referencing this game against United, we were against Panda and Pain on Ymir Medusa, and that is one of the highest cleared duo lanes, and Cupid is known for not having good wave clear, but because our fight is so good at level 1, we can actually trade back into this lane. So often what you'll want to do is just fight the enemy before the waves meet. We choose to not do that here because Ymir has such a strong level 1, so what we're actually going to do is do the small creeps. That way we're going to concede our purple, but Oceans and I are going to get all 4 of the small creeps on the red and the purple. That way when we go under tower to hit the wave, or to kill the wave, we'll hit level 2, and then even though we lose our purple, we'll each be level 2, or each duo lanes will be level 2. And then once I have my 2, you're able to pretty much fight into any duo lane. You have a ton of damage mitigation, and or not really a ton of damage mitigation, but you're a lot tankier than most other supports are, and you also have that aura to make you be able to chase down enemies and auto attack. You really want to take advantage of your auto attacks early game. It's very important that if you're a hunter player playing with an Amaterasu support, you don't want to use your abilities on creeps or enemies until the Ama has her passive fully stacked at 3 creeps. As you can see, I have it now, and then the Heart Bomb ticks. Or just before the Heart Bomb explodes, I get my passive stacked up on a creep, so Pain gets really poked out here, and it allows Oceans and I to regain lane pressure. So you want to look to be very aggressive as Ama and take advantage of your passives and your auras to get as much damage off on the enemy duo lane as you can. You also have a ton of clear with this god. Your auto attacks will do a ton. You'll notice I went Bumbas here in this game, and that's because with your passive in combination with your power aura, if you have Bumbas, you can auto attack jungle buffs for like 70 damage at level 1, and your clear is just insane with that. So something to think about. Once you transition out of the laning phase with Ama, you're going to want to focus on how you engage team fights. Ama's engage is very strong with her ultimate. So what you'll normally want to do is dash into the enemy and silence a couple of them, and then ult on as many targets as you can to force escapes or force whatever else you can. As you'll see here, we get a fight started in duo lane, and I'm going to start ulting on both Panda Cat and Pain. I force away Panda Cat's ultimate, or I force away Panda Cat's dash and force Pain's ultimate just for my ult, and now I'm able to use my movement speed aura to chase them and collapse on them with Cyclone. You really want to make sure that after you engage with Ama, most of your team fight presence is with your silence and your aura, so you want to stay as turtled to your team as you can to make sure you're giving them extra power or extra movement speed. As you can see right here, I used the movement speed to help my team chase down E United, and we're going to clean up a few kills because of it. And then after this fight is over, I switch to the power aura so that we can take down the enemy tier 2 tower, and we'll just tank it up, and I'm in power stance, and it should be very easy to take. I'm not going to head into jungle practice and cover some of the more advanced things about Ama that make her a good support. So, starting off, we'll go through how you would normally start a game. So, Ama's level 1 without her movement speed aura, I'm in power stance right now, is 375 movement speed. So most supports have about the same, and if you buy Boots 1, you're at 398. This is your pretty standard movement speed at level 1. Ama's actually faster than most supports. Most supports will be at about 380 because she's a warrior. A lot of Guardians will be more towards the 380 range with Boots 1. Because of this, Ama has a lot of chase potential at level 1 with her entire team. You can really get through the jungle a lot quicker if you were choosing a ward or look for a pick. And then, of course, your power stance at level 1, as we covered earlier, is very good for damage and clear. So, if I just have Boots 1, this is pretty standard start. I don't have any damage at level 1. I'm just going to walk up to this Ra bot. So, say this Ra was a normal mage and they didn't build any HP or anything like that. They just went like Soulstone into Boots. I'm already autoing him for 50 as I miss the other one and I blind you. The autos are just hitting for 50 at level 1, and this is so much damage, especially as you get your passive procced out. Like, it's just so insane. Most Guardians will auto for like 20 to 30, but because Ama hits so hard, you can really just press W at people early game, and if you and your Hunter auto attack them with your passive and your 1 active, you'll just completely shred them and outtrade pretty much any other level 1 comp. Then, of course, if you switch into her movement speed and you have Boots 1, you have 416 movement speed, and this is a ton at level 1. This will really let you chase down people, or chase people down. I don't know why I said that so weird, but yeah, it's 5% additional movement speed, so it's like you have a free Boots 1. Because of this, I like to start Bumbas on Ama. The reason for this, as I mentioned earlier, is that if I do this if I'm starting in a side lane, not so much mid lane, but if you're starting in duo lane, you can just go Bumba's Mask, and because you should get lane pressure with Ama because her fight is just so strong, you can go ahead and just clear the jungle extremely quickly. So I'll head into the jungle over here in jungle practice, and hopefully Bumba's actually works here. I haven't tested this, but you know, if I just go into my power aura, you'll see that I'm hitting this buff for 47 plus 17, so my passive is actually making my Bumba's proc do more damage as well. It's supposed to only be doing 15, but it's doing 17 here because of my passive. So I'm hitting these camps on the big hit 47 plus 17. So it's just so much damage early game, and then if I get my 2 here, I'll go to the next camp so that it respawns. When you get your 2, then you can just clear so much quicker than any other support can. She really has some of the best clear in the game of any support. Probably Ymir is the only one that's even close when it comes to buff clear. And you see I do 128 to these creeps, or I did it to the small creeps at least, with my 2, and then of course you get to heal off of the Bumbas. So this is something that I like to do a little bit. I don't think she really needs the movement speed because, as I mentioned, you switch into your 1, you have 394. That's pretty close to what most supports have with Boots 1 anyways, or it's even larger. The next advanced mechanic to cover with Ama is exactly how her dash works. So, as I mentioned earlier, it has a silence, but something to note about this is if I hover over this ability, just a basic line charge, but if you pay close attention to this Robot before I dash them, it'll actually start the silence before my dash even hits them. So most people think that the silence is dealt when I hit them with my dash, but when I activate my 3, it will actually shoot out a silence and a line skill shot of this distance. So, say there were like 5 robots right here. As soon as I hit my dash, it will silence all of them, and then I'll start my dash, and then I'll damage them. So if you pay close attention to Ra, you'll see the little silence CC hit him before my damage hits him, which is right there. So you saw the silence was nearly, probably 3/4 of the silence was 25% over before my damage even hit the robot. So it's important to note that you can just shoot out your silence as if it were like a line skill shot, almost like a Fafnir hammer, and then it's going to take you towards them to close the gap. Another thing to note about Ama's dash is that since it's so quick, you can kind of press W at people and then whip your camera and turn around and dash away. You can do a lot of weird little bait plays with this, and sometimes, depending on ping, I haven't been able to do this consistently, but you can shoot out your silence and then whip your camera and dash the other direction. Then going over Ama's 4, you want to make sure that you're hitting any target with your 4. So, for example, say I want to stun this Odin bot. A lot of people have the misconception that for your dazzling offensive to actually stun somebody, you have to hit the same target 3 times in a row. That's actually not the case. You just have to hit any target, and then the third target or the third strike will actually stun them. So if I hit this Odin bot once, twice, and then I turn around, it'll still stun this Odin bot, and it'll apply a slow to this one. So this doesn't only work on gods, it will also work on creeps. I'm going to turn this back to instant cast because I'm not used to it here. But this will actually also work on creeps. So say there was an Odin bot right here. I wish I was a Sylvanas so I could pull him through the wall. But I could actually just use my ult to hit these creeps, and then if there was a god right here, I could stun that god. So as long as you're around minions or any god, just make sure that your ultimate hits somebody and you'll be able to get the stun off. Another thing to note about Ama's ult is it can be blocked by player walls. So if I'm against something like a Ymir or a Kabrakan, and they wall off my ult, it actually won't do damage through the wall, even if the cone looks like it is. So that's another important thing to notice. And then lastly, we'll just go over the full combo with Ama and how you can get as much damage off as possible. So let's say I'm level 5, I have backed, and I have Talaria boots, which is probably the most common boots. I'm in my power stance, and I'm walking up to this Ra, and I want to start a fight. So what you're going to want to do is cast your 2 first, and then you want to dash, get a couple auto attacks off if you can stack your passive, and then you just want to ult him, hit your 2, and I nearly soloed that Ra with my full combo. It took me 3 more auto attacks and the Ra is dead. So Ama does a ton of damage if you can min-max her kit and get all of her abilities off, and that is why she is such a strong aggressive support in the early game. So that's the end of my Ama support guide. I hope a lot of you got to learn from some of this and found a few tips and tricks that make you understand a little bit better why Ama is such a good support and how you can understand to play her. I did this guide a little bit different than the Khepri guide I did last time in terms of style, so let me know what type of style you guys enjoyed more, and leave any other feedback or criticism you can in the comments on what you would like to see next, as well as go ahead and vote for what god guide should be next. I'm not going to release a straw poll for this one. Just go ahead and type them down in the comments, and if you agree with whatever person said, you know, maybe they say Fafnir or something, just go ahead and give them an upvote, and I'll check whichever person got the most upvotes, and I'll go ahead and get that guide to you in a couple days. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day.